So cold.
Good morning, everyone. Happy first day of spring.
Yeah.
And welcome to the Southern Shores Town Council Workshop Meeting on March 21st, 2023. If you could please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. If we could all just have a short moment of silence, please. Thank you. Council, I'd like to propose a motion that we amend our agenda, seeing as how we have some folks here today, and move public comment from where it is currently to after business item number 1, staff update on Southern Shores Landing. I would love to hear a second for that motion. Got a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is amended, and now I would like a motion to approve the amended agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda as amended.
And a second?
Second.
No discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Very good. Thank you. So first, we'll start out today's meeting with our town manager, Cliff Ogburn, giving us a staff update on Southern Shores Landing. Good morning, Cliff.
Good morning, and thank you. I wanted to give you the update on the two items that were on your, we were planning to have on your agenda before you today, ZTA 2302 and ZMA 2301. And I'll start with the zoning map amendment, and forgive me for reading, but I don't like to do that, but I just prepared this. A zoning map amendment application was submitted by a resident in Southern Shores Landing to rezone the western portion of Southern Shores Landing from C General Commercial to RS10 Residential. Town staff researched the history of Southern Shores Landing and found it was approved as a planned unit development in 2005. The town's official zoning map dated 2007 shows approximately 2/3 of Southern Shores Landing is zoned as RS10 residential, and the remaining 1/3 is zoned C General Commercial. In reviewing the rezoning application, staff investigated the history of the retained 1/3 commercial zoning district and determined there was no official town amendment of the zoning map to RS10 following Southern Shores Landing approval. The proper zoning of Southern Shores Landing is actually based on a 2005 zoning map amendment wherein the entire development is zoned commercial. It's important to note the town and staff have been operating as if Southern Shores Landing was zoned residential pursuant to the zoning map. Upon discovering this error, town staff advised the applicant to withdraw his application, and the town would proceed with the zoning map amendment application to rezone Southern Shores Landing in the entirety to RS10 to reflect its current use and its designation on the zoning map. Continued research by staff determined PUDs were removed as a permitted use in RS10 due to the limited size of the developments. This was done in 2005 pursuant to a moratorium after Southern Shores Landing was approved. At the time Southern Shores Landing was approved, PUDs were permitted in residential zoning districts. It is staff's opinion the intent was to have Southern Shores Landing zoned residential. PUDs are currently a permitted use within the commercial district per Town Code Section 36265. Town staff has withdrawn zoning map amendment 2301 as to not create a non-conforming development with the rezoning. So that's why the zoning map amendment was removed. The ZTA, staff's working to revise the ZTA, to provide a proper buffer for what we feel like is a proper buffer for PUDs. And we'll be presenting that to the planning board at a future meeting. So we've taken that and need to continue to work on that one. But we'll be bringing that forward. So thank you. Any
Cliff,
questions?
can I ask, so in addition to the individual who had originally put in a application for a zoning map amendment, my understanding was an individual property owner cannot
Resume.
advocate or change someone else's property zoning. Is that correct?
It would require
Town zoning requires approval from the property owner.
So it would have required,
at least 30, maybe 38 approvals.
and so one of the thoughts that staff had at the time was it would just make more sense for the town to take the lead in
Correct,
this,
that
in this effort.
Yeah, and the fact that our zoning map misrepresented what was actual. So we felt like it was our responsibility to fix it.
And we always felt like the issue with the zoning map, as well as anything you could click on GIS, on the Dare County's GIS site, that information, which was, now that we know, was wrong, was also on the town. In other words, it was our responsibility. None of the people who currently work for the town were here then. None of the people who are on council were present then either. So, no institutional knowledge really of what occurred so many years ago. But nonetheless, it was our responsibility.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
So all this started with a bad map in 2005. Is that,
Well,
I mean, I'm trying to put a timeline in my head.
the reason it was brought to our attention was from the original applicant,
Right.
The resident who wished to have
Right.
his property zoned with what we thought was residential.
The residents.
Right, and so when we go back and we look at the 2007 map, it shows the western 7 properties as commercial, and the rest of the PUD is residential.
So there's a cascade of wrong decisions based on the map.
There was a mistake made
Yeah,
somewhere,
okay,
for
and
sure.
We got to fix it.
Correct.
Okay. Well, that's the position we're taking as the town now, since we're all here. I mean, none of us were here then. None were there. So we're going to try to
Well, we got it. We got
make a
it.
recommendation. You guys are going to make a recommendation to us, what you're doing. You're continuing to investigate and you're going to make
Yes, sir.
make recommendations going forward.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
Cliff, and I know we have some residents here, is it fair to say that when people purchased property in Southern Shores Landing, they relied on the fact that they thought it was residential, or do we have any
I
way
don't
of
know.
knowing that?
I'm being,
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
If I may, if a title search was done by their closing attorney, it would have shown, the record title would have shown that it was commercial. If they click on the GIS map, which is not record title, which is not legal title, which attorneys know is not in the chain of title, they may have been confused. But if they had a closing attorney who did handle the closing, they're charged with knowledge of the record title, which was commercial.
That's where the confusion is.
That's why you buy title insurance.
Exactly.
Title insurance, yeah.
That's exactly right.
If you,
That's
yeah,
exactly
if
right.
you have to, yes. Okay.
Spot on.
So next steps?
Any other questions for Cliff? Okay,
All right.
so that's where we are now. And so if anyone has signed up for public comment, but if anyone would like, if you haven't signed up and you still would like to address the council, please feel free. Just come up to the podium, tell us your name and your address, and we're here to listen. We won't be commenting on your comments, but we're here to listen. Yes, sir. Please come to the podium and tell us who you are and where you live.
Hi, my name is Matthew Huban. I'm a resident of Southern Shores Landing and have been the, I guess, designated representative to come and speak on behalf of this. And I've met with Wes and Cliff throughout this process. Again, going back to us, again, we didn't know this process even, this condition even existed until it was brought to our attention about a month or so ago. And in doing the investigation and going back to your question of what a resident have known, any logical resident buying a piece of property going in would see that they're in a residential neighborhood. Not only is it in the zoning map, but it's also in the land use map that you all have that shows the entire community is zone RS10, high density residential. It's on the GIS. It's on the zoning map. You could come to a conclusion that all of this was probably, we're here today because somebody who drew the zoning map thought they had covered the entire neighborhood when they did the zoning map, when they drew that little box. However, they left their little section off. There's no precedent set for anywhere else in the town or the county where you have a community that's split zoned like we are. So again, we are here trying to use logic and common sense to try to get our community afforded the same protection that any other residential community would have. And we would encourage you all to do that. We were hoping today, coming here, listening to you all, that this was going to be taken care of and, we were going to be over and done with. And all this came about, obviously, because of the development that's going to be going on behind our property, which is of great interest to us as far as what the setbacks are going to be for our community. Because with a commercial to commercial, those setbacks are only going to be, 15 feet versus the 50 feet. And if you go look at the GIS, you'll notice that tree line that's currently there behind their property is almost exactly 50 feet, as it has been intended for a buffer between a residential property and a commercial property. So we would encourage the town to go ahead and do whatever they can to, rectify this error that's obviously occurred that needs to be addressed, before the situation, takes a turn for the worse. And it's something that's gonna, potentially end up in a court system somewhere. We could just use some common sense and logic to make this, wrong or right. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it. Again, the open invitation, the mic's open. If you'd like to come to the podium, tell us who you are, where you live. We're here to listen. Like I said, we're not going to comment on your comments, but we're here to listen. Seeing no one, I will close.
Please.
A last minute, yes.
Second thoughts.
Hey, Mike.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Michael Strader. I'm an engineer with Clive Associates. So I'm here on behalf of the adjoining property owner, developer of the Gingite Creek parcel. I guess there's a couple of things I would just want to reiterate as far as the current existing situation. So as you've heard, the Gingite Creek parcel is zoned commercial. The Southern Shores Landing parcel is zoned commercial. There are some misrepresentations on some maps and GIS, all those things being, I believe Cliff used the word layman's terms, but as you heard from your town attorney, it is legally a commercial parcel. And your ordinance does specify that PUDs, when they're approved as a conditional use, in order for it to be conforming, it needs to be within that commercial zone. So I guess that's why you've heard that any zoning map amendment has been taken off the table. So it sounds like where this is going is that there's going to be focus on a zoning text amendment that I believe the town is going to try to resolve the situation that the owners at Southern Shores Landing feels occurred. But we also want to make sure that we're participating so that there would be concessions made on the Gingite Creek parcel side, because there is a mixed-use development project that's been in the works. It's been very close to submittal point. We have not made that submittal partly because we didn't want to submit something when there's this outlying issue. So we want to make sure that we participate with a zoning map amendment, zoning text amendment, that there shouldn't necessarily just be a 50-foot buffer for all uses. Since it's because today, right now, there's houses that are, I think, 5 or 6 foot from the adjoining property line now. Any mixed-use development project that's submitted today, there is no buffer to that commercial zone parcel of Southern Shores Landing. There is a buffer from the rear because that's a residential zone parcel. But if a project application were submitted today, there's not a buffer. So any buildings, parking, any of those uses could be as close, I mean, right up to the property line. We don't want to see that happen. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to encourage the developer to transition from, we don't want to put commercial uses abutting this residential use. Even though it's a commercial zone parcel, Southern Shores Landing, we want to make sure that we're transitioning so that there's a residential use component before the commercial mixed use component. So since you all know the parcels, we want to encourage the developer to place the residential uses along the eastern side of that parcel and commercial uses. That way there's a transition. And in doing so, the commercial uses would be held to that 50-foot buffer, but we are seeking that any residential uses, there's got to be some middle ground, some other distances. Maybe residential buildings could be no closer than 30 foot to the property line, or residential parking or other uses could be no closer than 15 foot from the property line. You know, I think we need to, we would be willing to work with the town to come up with distances that make sense for a mixed use development plan, not just a commercial development plan. So I just wanted to make sure we put that out there.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate
Sure
it.
thing.
Anyone else? That would be unusual for the same person to get two.
May I speak again?
Sure.
Yes, please, sir. Come and see us, Matt.
As to what the gentleman was just talking about, being mixed use versus commercial, still doesn't, what we're trying to do as a neighborhood is not be able to sit in our back deck and have a parking lot and a building from here to that wall or even shorter. That's the goal of what we're looking for, which is afforded from a residential neighborhood, whether it's putting an apartment building, a 4-story or 3-story apartment building right there, or a parking lot right there. Whether it's commercial or residential is no consequence to us. The outcome is all the same, which is having this development right outside our back door with literally or no virtual separation from us. That's what we're looking for. And as far as the community and the buffer that we're looking for that 50-foot buffer that's afforded a residential community, whether it's mixed use, commercial, you know, they can say they want to put a commercial building 500 feet away. It doesn't matter. The parking lot for the apartment building or the condo is going to be 5 feet, 10 feet, 3 feet, 10 feet away. So we would love to work with the developer to try to have them move that building somewhere else just so we can have that consistent 50-foot buffer there. That's the ultimate goal for our neighborhood. And we're going to do whatever we can to make sure we can get that. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Okay, at this time, I'm going to close public comment. And I would ask for a motion to go into closed session.
I move that we go into closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11, paragraph A5, and North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11, paragraph A3.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're now in closed session.